Hey everyone, we will wait a little bit until more people come in, but how's everyone doing today? Whew. We'll just wait a tiny bit until more people are here. Okay, I think we'll start. So we're going to go through measurement of variables and data today. So we're going to go through variables and data. So we're going to go through mostly scaling and reflective versus formative measurement scales. So for the chapter 11 section, we're going to go through how variables are measured and how operationalization is structured. So a variable is an element that can be changed based on an impact under study. So yeah, this shows what happens. Like we measure what happens to the object. We're the judge and slash evaluator, and we measure what happens to the object. So that's what we measure. So the object is determined, so variables. The characteristics to be measured are established. The method of measurement is set for each characteristic. The judge evaluator, that's us, takes the value of the characteristic through the measurement method, and we gotta figure out what happens to it and be impartial. We can't be biased. We got to look at it without any sort of bias. So we need to be able to be objective and not have an opinion. It's hard to do this when there's something like hunger, thirst, anger, disappointment, satisfaction, love, enjoyment, because these things can be biased at times. So we need to figure out what can be uh, an objective statistic. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of scales and know how to use different forms of scales and describe validity and reliability. So there's a whole bunch of different there's a whole bunch of different scales that are out there. So and then also a lot of ways to collect data. You can do it through interviews, observations, questionnaires, physical measurement, and you can determine the goodness of data, do hypothesis testing to see if the data is statistically significant. And you can conduct research through experiment, survey research, observation, case studies, grounded theory, action research, and mixed methods. So measuring the characteristic of an object. We need to measure the variable against the structure. And so we can use nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio, and rating scales, ranking scales. So we can use that to measure the object. So like we can measure like what type of income bracket people are in through nominal. So like nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio are used a lot in statistics to show like different brackets. So these scales, so nominal is basic characteristics mostly, ordinal is ranking. So like for ordinal, you could do like for ordinal, it could be D, C, B, A could be ordinal. So like so grades. And then interval, you can show so what the data is through interval. And then ratio, you can look at, you can find differences between data through doing a ratio. So you could, so it's mostly a division, like you divide two scores and then you can compare them. Like if let's say one person got 200, another person got 100, 200 divided by 100 equals 2. One person got 2 times more than the another person. So you can do that. So yeah, nominal scales, these are good ones. So they allow the researchers to assign objects to certain categories or groups. So this would be good for a census survey. So like, what is your gender? Like a lot of job applications have these types of things. So like, what is gender, female, male? So I'll fill it out. It's like, yeah, like I'll just fill it out incorrectly. So I'll just say male, sure. And then in what department do you work? Say I work in HR. The school and the college, health science, let's say, because I don't want to fill it out correctly. Because usually they want to get your information when they're asking these questions. But they usually do this they take this information and then they figure out how to, it's usually for customer experience surveys. So like they can figure out how the customers are feeling about the store. So they do that a lot at Walmart. Like they could ask like, how was your experience today? What was it from 1 to 10? And then they ask questions like that. And then it's like, what can you do better? Like what can we do better? And then you state what they can do better. So they use a nominal scale for a lot of like for a lot of stores or like businesses so they can know what they can do better. And then they use this for census a lot. So what is the highest level of education you've completed? So they show like, yeah, 2 dimensions. So there's differences between various categories. So like, so there's kind of like if going from less than high school to high school to college diploma to college or university degree, college or university degree to master's degree to doctoral degree. The thing about this is the problem with this thing, I know when I was doing stats in university, the problem with this is the differences between each type of schooling is uh, is unknown, really. Therefore, you don't know how much better a doctoral degree is than a master's degree. We just know it is at least a bit better. So we don't really know the size difference. So like I'll say we don't know the size of the difference. So like the difference between high school and college diploma is not the same as the difference between master's degree, doctoral degree. Actually, is like it might be, we just don't know. May not be the same as the difference between master's degree and doctoral degree. So like it might be, but we don't know. Like there's no way of knowing how much better each one is than the other. So like just be careful because I know when I was doing statistics in university, a lot of people made the mistake. They thought that like the difference was always the same, but it's not. It's probably a lot different. Yeah. So interval scale, structured in numerically equal distances on a scale that measures the object. Statistical analysis can be performed on the results. So, so like you can use degrees or grades. Like examples, what was the average temperature in the month of January for the last 20 years? How did the students perform in quiz 1? So like you use like, so for interval scales, you can use temperatures, grades, anything with with units. Yeah. So in this case, circle the number that represents your feelings at this particular moment best. There's no right or wrong answers. Please answer every question. So this would be an interval scale. So like I invest more in my work than I get out of it. So like I'd say I'd say about a 3, maybe. I exert myself too much considering what I get back in return, I'd say about a 3. I'd say, like, it kind of goes both ways. Like, I could exert too much sometimes, exert too little sometimes. And then for the efforts I put into the organization, get much in return, I would say probably a 3 again, maybe. So, like, you can do interval scales with this. Like, I disagree completely. I agree completely. So ratio scale. It is established in regard to a reference point that is fixed, which allows the object to be measured in reference to that absolute point. So, like, ratio scale, what is your weight? You can, yeah. So, like, you can compare it to another person. It's like, if so, yeah. So, like, in this case, like, if let's say I weigh 100 kilograms, one person, 200 kg, another person, 200 kg, sort of 100 kg, to the other person weighs 2 times more than the one person. And in age, like, so let's say you're 20 years old, one person, and then the other person is like 100 years old. It's 20 divided by 100 was 0.2. The one person is 0.2 times the age of the other person. And then production volume, 100 units, competitor, production volume, 2 units, 100 divided by 2 equals 50. The production volume is 50 times the production volume of the competitor. So yeah, you can use that. So ratios. So those can be used for your study. Yeah, those are very useful for your study. Yeah, like nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Yeah, depends on what you feel more comfortable with. Then the attitudinal scales, i.e. forms, variety of tools, i.e. scales that endeavors to measure the actual or expected behavior, attitude of individuals, rating scales, dichotomous scale, category scale, semantic differential scale, numerical scale, itemized scale, Likert scale, constant sum scale, stable scale, graphic scale, ranking scales, paired comparison, forced choice, comparative scale. So this is I like these are good examples. So the dichotomous scale obtains a yes or no answer. So example, do you own a car? Yes or no? And the category scale uses the nominal scale. So how pleased are you with your new real estate agent? So like you can figure out if you're very extremely pleased or extremely displeased. And then semantic differential scale for bipolar measurements. So what is your opinion of, let's say you could ask, what's your opinion of like your teacher, right? Is your teacher responsive or unresponsive? So you could rank it like highly responsive. So this would be like most, second, most, like goes from most here and then like least basically. It's like most responsive, least responsive, most beautiful, least beautiful, most courageous, least courageous. The numerical scale, how pleased are you with your new real estate agent? Extremely pleased, extremely displeased. So numerical scale is pretty much the same as categorical scale in this case. And then the itemized rating scale, X point system, forced choice is an interval scale. So how would you rate your interest in changing current policies? Circle the number that best reflects how you feel. So it's like not at all, somewhat, moderately, very much, and then you just circle which one you feel. And then Likert scale measures the agree/disagree of subjects. So you can, my work is very interesting, strongly disagree, disagree, neither, agree, strongly agree. So you can circle whichever one you feel. Yeah. And then constant sum scale, forced allocation between choices. So like it's kind of like percentage. So it's basically a percentage scale. So like if it's like, let's say it's like 25% fragrance, 30% color, 5% shape, 20% size, and 20% texture of lather. Yeah, don't worry about using all these. Like these are just, use whatever ones you feel more comfortable with. So like here, this would be 25. And then this one would be 30. And then this one would be 5. This one would be 20. And this one would be 20. So yeah, so it's just percentage for a constant sum scale. And then staple scale, simultaneous measure of direction and intensity, use interval scale. So this one is not really used that often. I've never seen it used, so don't worry too much about that one. So graphic rating scale, graphic representation within a range, uses our ordinal scale. So like you can determine the rating of your supervisor. So you just put an X. Like this is a good rating scale. It's kind of like the ordinal. It's kind of like the category one. Yeah. So you rank them just X for 10, X for 5, X for 1, or anything in between. And then paired comparison. Respondent needs to choose between two words. So if you're given $100 today, would you go out with friends, buy new clothes? Forced choice. Respondent needs to rank options. Rank the following magazines that you would like to subscribe to in order of preference: 1 most, 5 least. So that can be a good thing. Ranked ballots. They do that for usually in when they're voting for a leader for a political party. They use that. Then comparative scale. You can compare it like more useful, about the same, less useful. So yeah. And then range of possible questions, multiple options of questions are possible, so they could use many of them. So yeah, you can use a lot of those types of variables when you're doing a study. I've used a lot of ordinal in the past, but yeah, I used a lot of ordinal for when I was doing labor economics, but I wasn't using most of those things. I was just using mostly ordinal, like ranking, like it was like high school, college, university, that sort of thing. Like going from education, different types of education, but I didn't use any of the other ones. So then I use like income bracket, like if it's like 10 to 25,000, 25,000 to 40,000, 40,000 to 65,000, etc. Like I use those like income brackets, education brackets, like number of children, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or greater. So I used a lot of those types of ordinal. But yeah, like you can kind of be, if you just use ordinal, like you can kind of cover most of the categories. Yeah. So validity, relevant/appropriate. So it's important that you have good data, that the data is not this wasn't made by opinion. Like you actually ask these people and they give you an honest answer. So make sure you have that. And then yeah, there shouldn't be any bias. The data should be collected without bias. So which one do you want to do this today out of the games here?
So tower defense.
Okay. job, Santiago. Great job, Nick. Great job, everybody else. Awesome work. Yeah, that's great game. So, yeah, excellent, great participation, everybody. So, somebody had a question about the marks from the quiz. What's your question?
Sir, I want to know about the marks of last quiz. We didn't receive any marks or any update on that.
Oh, okay. So I marked them. I'm guessing that they didn't release. Okay. I'll see. Just gonna check today. Yeah, I marked them. I'll have to. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to release them. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to release them because I finished the marking. So we have a quiz. So the midterm is next week. It'll be the midterm it'll be the next class, I believe. Yeah, it'll be next class. Does anyone know when reading week is? Because I haven't been informed about it. When's the reading week?
Next to next, like 8th week is the reading week.
Okay, so when's that week?
It's from 28th Feb to 4th March.
Okay, cool. So yeah, okay, excellent. Thank you for that. So the midterm will be next week. So it'll just be on what we've learned so far. So I'm just gonna try to figure out how to